Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen meeting for January 24th. Before we start, we have a huge group of Girl Scouts here that are very eager to make a presentation. So I thought we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, vote on the minutes quickly, and then let them do their presentation, if that's okay with everybody, before we go into updates. So there's a big crowd here. So you're gonna get the full experience of, he'll videotape it and all that, so everybody can see it from on Zoom. So with that, I'm going to call the order the Board of Selectmen meeting for January 24th. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, with that, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. All right. And then now I'd like to get a motion to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2022 and January 11th, 2022 special meeting.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, great. Any comments, questions, changes? No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, so with that, I'm going to defer and move up item number 6. I don't think we need to vote on that, if that's okay. And I'm just going to have them do their presentation. So I want to welcome in the this is for the public's benefit, Girl Scout Troop 63260, and it's a mixed grade group. Second, third, and fourth, is it?
First, second, and third.
Oh, first, second, and third, excuse me. And they're going to be doing a presentation for us. So the board
lining up straight in a line.
So this is the board here. If you want to, there you can see all the selectmen on the
Come this way.
on the screen. And I want to welcome you to our meeting. And so if you want to just introduce everybody and then do your presentation.
Hi, I'm Shay. I'm Riley. I'm Morgan. I'm Lily. I'm Reagan. I'm Emma. I'm Lizzie. I'm Colette. I'm Annie. I'm Patricia. I'm Charlie. And I'm Megan.
Welcome here. We're so happy to see you here today. I know you have a nice little presentation for us.
Hello, we are Girl Scouts.
And speak fairly loudly. So you want to allow them to?
Yeah, you can pull your mask on when it's your turn to talk. Okay. Hello, we are Girl Scouts 63260. My name is Shay, and we are here to talk to you about how to make mental more accessible to those with physical disabilities. There are 2 areas we would like to focus on: the beach at the surf club and the downtown shopping area. We met with 3 people, Sam, Alex, and Mary, who talked to us about accessibility. We learned about curb cuts, picnic tables for wheelchairs, and handicap parking spots. Sam and Alex talked to us about what it's like to grow up with a physical disability. They inspired us to make these changes in our community. We went to the surf club and took turns riding in a wheelchair to understand what it felt like and where it would be easy to get around and where it would be difficult. We don't want anyone in a wheelchair to get hurt, and we want them to be safe and we want them to be able to access the areas at the beach. We found we couldn't go down the ramp because there was a big gap in the beginning and at the end, and we almost fell down it in the wheelchair. You could not go down to the water in a wheelchair. We found there was a ramp near the snack bar to get to that ramp. We went to the camp center and we found a wheelchair. We were looking for businesses that had stairs and could use the ramp to get into. We were also looking for businesses that had ramps so we could tell them good drive. solution for the ramp at the swim club would be to fill in the crack with a cement ramp at the beginning and at the end so it's easier to get down to the beach. We were also hoping to add an accessible thing for people with physical disabilities at the swim club. We want portable ramps for people in wheelchairs to be able to get into shops. We would like you to add a car cut across from different spaces so everyone can be safe crossing the street. Please save our farmland and our cooking stuff. We would like to use that money to help make these solutions possible. We would like everyone in Madison to be able to experience everything our town has to offer. We hope that by presenting this to you, things will change. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very much. I know a lot of people had a bit of a hard time hearing that at home, so I would love to get their little script.
Yeah,
maybe.
we will email that to you guys.
That would be great, because I think you raised so many wonderful ideas for the town to really think of. And some of the things that you talked about, the town did a whole study of all our buildings in town. This is last year. And one of the things they focused on was just the things that you talked about. How do people who have disabilities get into our buildings? So we now have this big list of projects that we're going to tackle to make them better. But it's interesting because I love when you started talking about the beach too, because that's something more and more, seeing people in wheelchairs and having mobility issues, being able to just go enjoy themselves on the beach, right? Which we all love to do during the summer. So my thought is if you want to put together a little bit more detail on one of these ideas, the town received a bunch of money from the federal government. It's called the American Rescue Plan. And that project, one of the projects that we could put in for is doing some beach mats and making things more accessible. So I would love to add that to a list of things that we're going to request to use that money for. So I think it's a great idea, and we can talk to our beach and recreation director about creating more ways that people can access the beach. So I think it's a great idea. So look at this. We got the. Why don't you hold them up so everybody at home can see these? Or on Zoom, and the other board members can see them.
Oh, like being it closer to the TV.
They made a list of solutions that they could probably bring.
Okay.
Peggy, may I just add, can you hear me?
Yes,
Peggy.
I can.
I just want to, as a former Girl Scout, or I think I still am a Girl Scout, I want to thank you all for coming. This is just awesome. I read your letters. I looked at all the pictures you sent us. You did a very thorough job. I would suggest you send some of those letters to our Chamber of Commerce too, for what the whole business thing down there. We could work with them. But I think it would be great if the Chamber and then all the businesses learned that where the idea is coming from, that it's coming from our youngest members. So congratulations to all of you. It's a wonderful project. You should all be very proud of yourselves.
Yeah, a lot of hard work I think went into this, huh? And so we're really happy you did that. Any other comments from board members?
Well, I am blown away, impressed. You guys did an incredible job. What a bunch of great ideas that your leaders in town can leverage and think about. We are super proud that you guys wanted to be engaged and help out your community. And honestly, I had not thought about your idea about people with handicaps getting in the water. So you helped me. Thank you.
Well, and I think there's just a lot of, so much creativity went into this, and I love how you went and tried to experience what it was like being in a wheelchair, because, until you actually have to do it, you don't realize some of the hardships maybe that you would encounter. So I think that's just really awesome and great ideas, and we'd love to get some more detail on all the ideas.
I emailed everybody the scripts, the best I could from
Okay.
I did a reply all to one of the emails for a budget workshop.
Okay.
Perfect.
I think Reagan had something to add. Go ahead, Reagan.
For the Girl Scout cookies,
Here, we'll let me get out here and then I can listen in. Go ahead, talk loud, so.
so with the Girl Scout cookies, we're raising the money for all the ramps and stuff. So we're asking you, would you like to buy any Girl Scout cookies?
Oh, boy. Yeah. I'm sure you'll get a lot of takers. Are you doing the online orders now? Because you can send us that, and I'll send it around to all the board members.
Definitely. That's a great idea. May I just tell the girls, Peggy, may I just tell the girls one thing? You know, when you're downtown, you might know this, but just in case you didn't, when you're downtown and you walk to the library, and you know when you cross the street, you hear a siren, that's put in because of blind people, so that they can know when the road is open. They can't see the cars, but they know when the siren's on, it's open and they're safe to walk across the street. So that's where the Americans Disabilities Act folks came to us and was concerned with that corner, with the siren. It's kind of loud, but it serves a good purpose. But there's somebody that had a great idea. And now here's you coming in with the second one. So thank you all.
Great. Well,
I think that's what, so they have this money that they've raised that they come up with, how do they want to spend it? And this was something that they wanted, the money that they've raised for treats and reads and cookies, they want to help make this actually happen.
Yep.
So I'm not sure
Okay.
if there's a way, maybe with the businesses to help sponsor the portable ramps, if the town is doing more like the beach mats
yeah,
and
because
things
I
like
think the
that.
town, we could definitely take care of the beach mats, and some of our buildings we're dealing with through our capital improvement projects. But some of the business issues, and I think Maureen's idea is great, talking to the chamber about connecting on some of the ramps. And then maybe some businesses would have to chip in. I have no idea, what the cost of any of that is, and how much money you raise, but yeah. You're talking about those little aluminum, they kind of pull
Yeah,
up those.
they're on the solution chart right there. They have a picture of them.
Oh, okay. So that's something we have a economic development coordinator here in Madison, and I will have her reach out to you, and then she can connect you with the chamber. Okay? And then she can kind of figure that out, and then I certainly want to order some cookies. So my daughter was a daisy and a brownie too, so she's now in 7th grade, but we still always order cookies. So.
They're delicious.
So I want to say thank you so much for all your hard work and what wonderful ideas this were.
Is it okay if we leave the posters with you guys?
Yeah,
to
so
look
we
over?
can, and what we can do is put them, you have a table over there too, we can put them on display for the public when they come in. And make sure just people can look at them. And just really want to say once again, great job, really inspirational, to see that you guys are thinking this way and thinking about others, and so I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and there's a lot we can do to make the town better. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye. And thank you, parents. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we will, sorry.
Do we have to go back to business after that?
I'm pulling this for noise purposes, so, okay. Okay. Well, that was fun. I didn't realize all the girls were coming too for the presentation, so that was really a nice surprise, to see so many of them here tonight, so. I'm sure we can find lots of ways to make things better. So with that, I guess moving on to next order of business is Selectmen comments, and I just want to quickly wanted to use this time for my update to talk a little bit about just the referendum, and because I know we've had a lot of questions come in to my office, and I've just seen generally out in the public. So I want to just highlight some things, a little background about why a February 15th referendum. And a couple things I just want to point out was, this date was discussed starting last June, really, about different dates that would work for the town in terms of setting a referendum date, and this really helped align the schools in terms of their planning process, their budgeting process, and then the application process they have to do with the state to get reimbursement. So that was kind of one of the drivers with the February 15th date. The other issue we talked a lot about last year was that we had put so many important decisions on hold every budget cycle, and we didn't want to go through a whole nother budget cycle not knowing the outcome of these three big decisions that the town was making. And so the idea was try to get this settled before the final budget was sent to referendum. So we could account for that and think about that as we went through the budgeting process. Another timing driver was the expiration of the Island Avenue lease, which was due to expire at the end of July. And obviously, the people that are renting the facility really wanted to be able to plan their future. They've been kind of waiting for this for a while, so there was a desire to get this done earlier rather than later during 2022. And then I just also want to highlight that we've had referendums in this time of year before, including the library, which was in 2017, as well as when the airport property was purchased and turned into Salt Meadow, and that was back in 2010. So this isn't unusual for the town to hold a referendum during this time of year. The other thing I just want to point out too is that I think this referendum the board has made a big effort to handle this perhaps a little differently. First is trying to allow as many voters to participate, taxpayers and residents, by calling the referendum more than 30 days in advance, which had not been done previously for referendum. So this meant that the town clerk can now use a different absentee ballot process. And the town clerk can now actually do it by mail, which would not have been allowed in previous referendums. You had to actually come in or appoint a representative to come in and do an absentee ballot for you. And that was because for whatever reasons, the town had chosen not to call the referendum more than 30 days. So this has allowed us to do kind of your traditional absentee ballot application process that residents have been using for municipal elections and for state and federal elections. The other thing is, what's a little unusual about this also, is we're allowing everybody in town to make a decision on the sale of a property, which we have not done before. The charter only requires a town meeting for this, but I think we all recognize that town meetings don't necessarily get a lot of public participation. And so a referendum is kind of a true public participation and getting people out to vote on an issue. So we're trying to be more inclusive by doing this. I think the other thing is communication. Great idea that Noreen and Bruce had come to the board in December about, we gotta let people know about this. And so we talked to the town clerk about it and came up with sending out an advance postcard notification. I know a lot of people have been getting these and got these in the mail last week. And it was the first thing they thought that they had heard of it because they maybe weren't following things as closely that was going on in town. So there's this advance notice about where to get your absentee ballot, when the referendum is going to be, and so people receive that postcard. And then the other thing we've been doing, really since we, throughout the last couple of years, is doing our townwide community information alert system, Madison Alerts. And we've been using that more to get information out and provide links to the ballot application process and all that. So we did all these are things we had not done in the past as a town during referendums. And then I think the other thing is I just want to highlight the transparency of the process. We're also going to it'll be available starting tomorrow on the town website, is what's called an explanatory text. That is a kind of an official document that gives facts about each of the projects. And it's kind of like, I kind of equate it to a little bit of prospectus, but it's not really the prospectus. But so in addition to what's already on the town website, this will be like a 2-pager or 3-pager on each project with some key facts. And that will be available starting tomorrow. And so what we've learned from our bond council is other towns, have always done this for all their referendums, and some actually mail it out to every voter in town. So I think that was kind of news because the town has never done this before. So we are going to have the explanatory text available on the website. We're going to have printed out copies in the town clerk's office, at the library, and also at the senior center. So people can get printed copies And it's just basically a summary of key facts about the projects. And then I just also want to comment that all of these projects have gone through a public committee process, all three of them, over at least 2 years. And when it comes to Academy, 15 years. Each project has been discussed at many public board meetings, and those board meeting minutes are available on the website for both the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and then Board of Education for the school project. Public information sessions have been held on all three projects, and public hearings have been held. And then, these are also things, there's been many articles in the paper and things. So there's been a lot of effort on the town to get as much information as possible out to the public about the project. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those things because I felt that, I know people were concerned about the timing, we were getting a lot of questions about information and things like that. We will always try to be as responsive and give as much information as we can. And then one thing I did want to highlight that has kind of a recurring thing about the properties, that the outcome of the referendums and what would happen with properties. I just wanted to make sure that the public understands that the Board of Selectmen has already been discussing the establishment of a public facilities committee. We had our first conversation about it in December, and we'll be finalizing that charge probably in the next month or two. And that committee will then go through and make decisions about the different properties that would be impacted, either whether things are successful or not successful at the referendum. In particular with Ryerson, the public school district has already stated that it intends to demolish Ryerson, and that the town, and that cost of that demolition is actually included in the project budget, and then the property would be turned over to the town to make a determination on its future. And then in terms of the other properties, all of these things will be discussed as part of the facilities committee. So, and there are a lot of ideas and things going on, but of potential uses or potential sale. But each one of these, including Jeffrey, everybody, I know a lot of people have been asking questions about some of the Lesage property that had been, and I might have spelled that wrong, but had been, originally discussed. And then the portables here, and also the youth and family services building. So these are all things that we would be very proactive in tackling right away, developing a master plan for our facilities, and get the facilities committee up and running. And we kind of talked about this last year. And I think what we realized is there were so many variables involved and so many different scenarios involved about the facilities that you needed to have some decisions made on some of them so we can make decisions on others. And then finally, just want to comment, because I know I've gotten some questions about town hall, if youth and family or if beach and rec moves out. And we already have identified needs for that 1,000 square feet over here where the beach and rec is located. So I just wanted to put that out there that we already have other town departments that are facilities assessment study had come up with that were in dire need of additional space. And so that plan is already kind of in motion when or if beach and rec were to move out of this building. So those were kind of my comments, just wanting to answer some, things that I'd seen in the public and questions that I had been receiving. And I just thought that way everybody could benefit from that. And with that, I will move on to liaison reports and selectmen comments.
I'd be happy to go first. First of all, just to piggyback off of what you've just said, Peggy, I've been very public that I wasn't thrilled about this date. The idea of and I don't totally understand what it was with the schools, with their planning, and I totally respect what it was, but I'm just saying it's the idea of a referendum winter in Connecticut, setting a date in the middle of the pandemic. I do have a concern, but it is what it is. And if we have a snowstorm on February 15th, whoever shows up, whoever gets an absentee ballot, that's it. We don't get a redo. So I think we've really gone out, I totally agree with you, we've gone out of our way to be very transparent on how to vote. As we've seen from past elections, I think 85% of our population still wants to vote in person. And we're gonna have to unfortunately start to change that. And I think this past week, the article in the Source really outlining absentee ballots and how to do it and all was excellent. And I know we've done it on social media. The postcard was a great, I mean, we're trying to reach everybody, and people that have contacted me that are upset about the date, I said, look, it's set. We're ready to go. We're within a month of it, less actually. And we just have to make sure people know about it. And I think we've done as good a job as I can think of trying to get people to be comfortable if they can't come in and vote. Certainly the AB process, I know for some of the seniors, it's a little more than they want to do. And a lot of people just like to vote in person. And hopefully by then, Omicron will be a little less. We're hearing some good news. I hope that continues. But it is what it is, as I tell people, and we've got to vote. These are 3 really important votes. No matter how you vote, just vote. I have a little pin I'm going to wear this week, the week of the vote. It says, didn't vote, don't whine, don't complain. So we got to all get out and vote.
Amen to that.
And then one more thing I just want to say about the P&Z meeting. The last 2 meetings, I missed the last meeting because it was the night of our budget hearing. But the meeting before, the P&Z did pick a new chairman with Carol Snow. And then this past Thursday, while our budget hearing was going on, they did have a public hearing. Unfortunately, only 4 commissioners were there. And I mean, obviously the others had reasons they couldn't be there. I know we're out trying to find new people to fill it. It's been pretty hard with all the publicity about it, but we're all working on it, trying to get those seats filled so that anybody who comes in with a plan or a project gets a fair hearing. And I was just disappointed that only 4 people were there. But I talked to Erin Mannix, our town planner, and she said that's fine. It's not ideal, but it's fine. But anyway, I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with P&Z. That's all I have.
Any other comments from board members?
Yeah, so in the spirit of changing in chairs, we have a change in EDC chairs after, I think, more than a decade. Ryan Duquesne is stepping aside as chair. He's continuing his service to the town on the EDC, but he's taking a step back from the chair, and Jonathan Stein graciously was shanghaied into assuming the chair. So I think that we've really got the best of both worlds going on right now. We still have the wisdom and perspective of Ryan and the vigor and new perspective of Jonathan. So I'm excited for that. And Peggy, as you know, you and I and Sherry and Jonathan have a meeting later this week to talk about priorities and objectives in the coming year. So that's good news. Ambulance Association is, I think, unsurprisingly struggling, like all organizations are, with COVID and infections and the impact that it has on staff and the policies that they need to have around it with regards to testing and best practices. So they seem to have a pretty good handle on how they're doing it. They are certainly looking to the town as a model for policy, and have been able to maintain their service levels during the most recent outbreak. So again, that's good news.
Anybody else?
I attended Board of Ed on the 18th, and their budget passed unanimously, 9-0. So that was exciting to see. A 1.66% increase in their budget. So I think they worked very collaboratively, at least in my impression, to work that. There was some cuts in the facility budget that I know happened inside of committee, and it was a very fast vote, unlike years gone by. So I was very impressed with their collaboration and partnership to make this happen. In the superintendent's report, he did mention just a couple things of note. One was a decline in staff and students being out related to COVID, which he was encouraged by that trend. They did get some, I guess, N95 masks from the state, so he was very appreciative of that. And I guess the nurse has the ability inside of the schools to do COVID-19 testing too for students. So I thought that was nice to hear. And I guess there's the mask mandate is being reconsidered on 2/15, I guess is sort of the big date when decisions need to be made. So that's where we are with the Board of Ed. End of report.
I'd like to one of my new assignments is the Affordable Housing Committee, and they are on target to complete their report to the community by early summer. And in furtherance of that, they are going to be issuing another survey of the public to further refine their understanding of what the Madison public would like to see happen in terms of workforce housing. So that survey will probably be available in the next month, and I'm assuming town government will find many ways to publicize the availability of that online survey. Finally, I wanted to report on the Coastal Resiliency Commission. They are very eager to help our ARP committee and our CIP committee prepare and understand what capital projects need to be conducted in terms of coastal resiliency. So they're very eager to get started, and we have to make sure we have our various bodies coordinated to make sure we have their expertise as we sit down and prioritize these projects. And that's enough for me.
Peggy, may I just ask one question of Scott? He might not have the answer, but just curious about what the Board of Ed budget is. That 1.66%, is that operating cost, or does that include the net decrease in debt?
I do not believe it includes the net decrease in debt, but I can check on that, Noreen. I don't know.
Okay, because so there's a chance the 1.66 is strictly just operating cost, an increase in operating.
Potentially.
Okay,
Peggy, have you seen that? Have you seen their budget?
I have not seen the final thing, but I don't think they include the debt in the school budget though. I thought that was.
I'll try to clarify it.
They have in the past. They didn't do.
Oh no, so Stacy's letting me know that it does include debt.
It does include debt. Yeah. See,
Yep.
that's something that's only been done the last 10 years. That's something new to the town, but we're going to take a look at that. But thanks for that report.
Yeah.
Bottom line, yeah, I don't remember what was on there. So, okay, so moving on to citizens' comments. Lauren, do we have any citizens' comments?
No one has their hand raised.
Okay, great. All right, and we'll move on to item number 7 since we've got the Girl Scout presentation. Discuss and take action to approve a donation from neighbor to neighbor in the amount of $5,000 to provide emergency funding to individuals and families in need of assistance.
Make a motion that we accept it with our deep thanks.
Second that.
Great. And any discussion? I mean, obviously, neighbor to neighbor. I don't know if there's anybody here, Lauren or Scott Cochran's here. Obviously, they've been an incredible source of support for the community, especially since the pandemic. I mean, I think we had multiple rounds of $25,000, $30,000 donations, and so we're grateful that they continue to help families in need. Scott's here. Okay, Scott.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say thanks to Neighbor. This money would go to our discretionary fund through social services. So it's going to help Madison residents with things like emergency heating assistance and housing things, for people that maybe fall behind on their rent. And just, it's our discretionary fund. So really it's as needed basis. But our thanks to Neighbor. Again, they just continue to step up.
It's unbelievable.
Great, thank you. And obviously Neighbor is funded by Madison residents. So thank you to all those Madison residents that continue to donate to Madison Foundation.
And Peggy, I'd just like to add, this is all these years, Lori Heflin has led this effort. I saw her her signature was on the check again and on the letter. So that leadership, her leadership has just been instrumental in keeping that organization such an integral part of this community.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Noreen.
So with that, all in favor of gratefully accepting this donation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you so much. Item number 8, discuss and take action to approve awarding the contract for the police department locker room renovation project to the low bidder, Interspace. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. And then this was actually part of CIP.
That's right.
So it's
Yes.
a fully approved project, and it's within budget. So Bill, if you just want to give a quick overview of the project and.
I'd be happy to. The lockers are the original lockers from 2000 when we put the building in. Their needs have changed, their equipment, has changed, and we want to upgrade the locker room to meet those needs. It was in the CIP plan. It was approved, July 1st. The fundings are available. As you can see, I think part of your package is my memo and the outline of the breakdown of the 5 bids. I'm happy to go into details, but we selected the low bidder. And we're hopefully going to be able to put the funding in for the electrical supply we still need to bring the power into the lockers, and then painting, carpet, and some other work that we'll do as well.
How long will the job take, Billy?
Couple weeks, 3 at the most. Demo the lockers in a few days. Then another week maybe to put them in, and then we'll do some painting and carpet work as well, the electrical. So I'm thinking they'll be down for 2 to 3 weeks max. And I've definitely been working with the police and coordinating with their department, so they're going to be okay with that, and we'll do it as fast as possible.
Great. I know it's been a long time coming. We talked about that for many years on the CIP, so this is great news.
Yeah, and the contractor who we selected is a low bidder. Also, just put one in. One of our neighbor towns, and was recommended by the police. Have seen it and liked it, so I think that we're going to have a successful project. I believe we'll be on time and within budget, and they'll be happy with the outcome.
That's great.
Great. Any more questions for Bill?
So just a process request. We've talked briefly about this in the past. When we have these awards that come up that are already in the budget, it would be helpful if we had in the motion that it was a pre-approved expense. I would add to that request just the simple affirmation that it is within the budgeted amount. I know as a matter of process, if the bid was over, Billy would be coming to us and saying, by the way, we didn't bank enough money for that. But I think it just, for clarity, for people watching, it's good to know that they've already voted on it. It's coming in at or under budget where we expected it. We're not asking for additional funds.
Yeah, and I know we've done that on the personnel side, I think, but you want it on for all projects. That makes sense. So happy to do that.
I'll be happy to add that in the future.
Yeah, and maybe that's something just to note more needs to going forward for the requests and everything. So with that, all in favor of approving the award as written, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, great. Thanks a lot, Bill. Item number 9, discuss and take action to approve a line item transfer request from the Public Works Department in the amount of $30,000.
So moved.
Second. Or Al can have it. Al was raising his hand quietly.
We got John here. Well, I think he's in the building, John, right? You could actually come in here and make it so.
I should, if I knew you were going to be alone, I would have.
Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
So I'm asking to do a line item transfer for $30,000 from into equipment repairs. The balance is getting low on that. I'm getting concerned about that.
This is just moving from one budget to another budget, it's not affecting your overall numbers, is that?
Yes, that's correct. Just moving from the materials budget into equipment repairs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Al?
Yeah, John, we're now budgeting for next year, and based on what you're learning this year, have you made provision for this in next year's budget?
I have not. I don't anticipate needing to increase next year's budget. I think this is sort of an anomaly here. And as we start acquiring new vehicles, we actually coincidentally just got one of our new large dump trucks today, and there's 2 more on the way. I think that'll alleviate the maintenance cost for next year. So I'm hopeful that's the case.
Great news on the new trucks. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw some email, I have to sign something about the trucks, right? Those are the new Freightliners that, yep.
Yes, we received that today, the first truck today.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay.
Don't sign it if it says personal guarantee.
Well, funny, whenever they ask me to sign anything now, I'm always worried it's some sort of spam, so I always check what's the department that I'm supposed to have received this. So, okay, any other questions? Nope. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Okay. And this approval of the line transfer request. Item number 10, discuss and take action to approve a line item transfer request in the amount of $125,309 for salary reconciliations into town departments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is Stacy's here to talk about this and more. This is pretty much a standard, I guess we do.
Like house cleaning.
Yep. So go ahead.
Pretty much, it's from one budgeted line item to many budgeted line items.
A boring one.
So why? So we have a kind of a catch-all with 125,000 in it, and it's now being distributed out amongst all these different line items. How come those don't have the money in them?
Because typically every year, Bruce, and just like with this upcoming budget, any of the COLA or contractual increases are held in the 8150 salary adjustment line item. And then once the budget is passed and we start the new fiscal year, that's when we move the money and distribute it amongst all the departments. This is not uncommon. It's done every year for as long as I can remember.
And do the admin increases, which are the 2 biggest ones, are those multiple people?
Yes, they will be multiple people as well as steps, contractual as well as unaffiliated COLA increases that was approved during the budget process.
I noticed there's not one in there for the selectmen.
We're still working on that, Bruce.
Stacy, is this something we will have to do again? Because this is happening for this year, not for the new budget year, correct? So will we, since the year doesn't finish to June 30th, is it typical to have to come back again and make some line item transfers into this account?
It absolutely is. There's changes throughout the year, but we'll be able to explain them, later on in the year. But this is the first big one. It's a little later than we usually do. We usually do it late fall. But after this one, we'll have, it'll be a small line item transfer and we'll have explanations for that.
There's always something at the end of the year too. We do that big adjustment. Right?
Yeah, just cleaning up accounts, but there are some changes that happen, during the fiscal year.
You have people leave, right? And then you plan for a position, but then they end up coming in a couple months later than you budgeted for and things like that as well. So.
If the money for this 125,000 is earmarked, it sounds like already, is any of this part of a reorganization plan? Or is all of this COLA and adjustment?
It's all a regular line item transfer.
Okay. All right. I remember when we first set this account up years ago, it makes a lot of sense to have it. Get the
in one place.
In one place. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So I guess no more questions. All in favor of approving the line item transfer request, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Passes. Next item is item number 11. Discuss and take action to approve a special appropriation request from the Selectmen's Office in the amount of $7,000 to fund the West Wharf lease agreement pending Board of Finance approval.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
Just to kind of go back, this is relating to a kind of a temporary arrangement we put in place to ensure the public would have access to a part of West Wharf Beach. And I'm going to share my screen real quickly. We kind of did this on the original agreement, just for the public's benefit, that there is a part of what the town considers West Wharf Beach, which is actually owned by an individual property owner, which is the property owner, you can kind of see that in the blue, the house that's outlined there. And then the part in red is an area that historically for years, decades in town, we leased from the owner of that property. And then I guess maybe 10 years ago, that kind of agreement lapsed, and we've kind of been in a situation where the property owner has just been allowing the town to use the property, but recognizing there's liability issues with that, and it's problematic for us as a town if we want to do any changes or improvements to West Wharf Beach to not have control or to that piece of the beach. And so we kind of put in a temporary fix over the summer that involved a kind of month-to-month lease arrangement where we pay $1,000 a month. That was an unbudgeted number that, because we hadn't forecasted that when we set last year's budget. And so we've been kind of funding it out of different accounts, and we could find an opportunity that it made sense. And so now we just want to make sure that we have the appropriate amount of money to cover the rest of it through the end of this year. We're also actively working with our town attorney, our land use attorney, on finding a more permanent arrangement so that we can just make plans and know, how that arrangement's going to be with the property owner in the future. So I sent around, I apologize, it wasn't in the packet, because everybody on here except Noreen didn't have the benefit of being a part of approving this licensing agreement. And so that licensing agreement that was signed by me and then voted on by the board in July as part of the packet. I just sent it out like an hour ago, just to refresh other board members. So this is just to kind of cover us so we can continue along, but we are working, I've got our new town planner involved, and we're working on kind of how to address this so we don't have to go through this kind of month-to-month thing going forward. Any questions from other board? And I don't know if Austin's here or not. He may not be here for this, because I think this was just trying to get the funding in place, but we'll be coming back and talking about kind of a longer-term plan for this issue this spring.
Peggy, how the $7,000? So that carries us for 7 months between now and.
Yes, I think we were able to fund the first 5 months out of the Selectmen's Office account, and I thought Beach and Rec, we were kind of treating it as an operating expense, but we didn't want to be pulling from his budget, because he hadn't budgeted for this. And Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we fund all of this to the Selectmen's Office, or did we do some out of Austin's?
We did it all out of the unbudgeted expense, out of the Selectmen's office.
Out of the Selectmen's, okay. So, but now we're going to do a point where we just think we should, get the money set aside so we have it. We know we're going to need it, and that creates no disruption in terms of access to the beach.
Peggy, I know I wasn't here when you folks first did this, but I think it's a great temporary fix. I know we will continue to work on getting this solved once and for all. But it's a part of the, people in town think we have that whole beach. Most people aren't aware that we don't. There's a good sizable piece of it that's not ours. So I think this is a great solution. I totally support it.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know the other selectmen were part of this discussion last spring and so on. So, all right. With that, then, all in favor of approving the special appropriation request, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, thank you. Next item is discuss and take action to approve a special appropriation request from the police department in the amount of $210,000 to fund body worn and in-dash cameras upgrades pending town meeting approval.
So moved.
Second, is there a way to amend this to note whether or not this is in budget or out of budget, or where is it coming
Well,
from? Is it
it's a
CIP?
It's a special appropriation, so it's,
Yeah, so Chief Drama's here, and this actually went through Board of Finance last week already and passed, but I'll let him explain. This was kind of really a couple of different reasons that got to this point. Part of it is some of the requirements that the state has, some of it's relating to the technology that we're gonna be using going forward, so I'll let the chief speak to that.
Hi, good evening, everybody. That was great with the Girl Scouts, wasn't it? Okay, we've had the past 5 years, and it expired in July 1st of 2021. We had a contract with WatchGuard Corporation. They were our second generation of cameras. Our first one back to 2010 started with VView. Then we transitioned to WatchGuard. They ended their contract with us July 1st of 2021. We had paid that, the storage, correction, the cost of the equipment over a 5-year period with them that came through CIP. The intention was, because we had bought some newer equipment from them within the last 24 months for upfit to cars, that it would continue into an additional year. That did not happen. WatchGuard was purchased by Motorola Corporation. It's a technology change. If you have a brand new equipment from them on order, which there's no date as to when that equipment would arrive, then you would be okay. But where we were is that we had our equipment using our own server. We were using the cloud of the WatchGuard Corporation. We had a catastrophic failure of our server. We then currently using on loan a server from the Board of Ed until we get this new system in place. We're required by law to have the system, so there's not much I could do about that. In a perfect world, this would have been planned out for the next 5 years, over a period of 5 years, a new contract budgeted for. But at this point, we have a system that has to be replaced sooner than later. I have to be compliant, and right now we're filling capacity on that server that we're borrowing. We have to manually download the equipment from each and every cam that we have and car that's currently using the equipment that's operational. So we're kind of like between a rock and a hard place. We got to get it done. The sooner and soon. So what the 209 represents is additional cameras for the cars and the body cams, transitioning to the new technology. It also includes a $61,000 premium for 1 year of unlimited storage in the cloud with the Coban Corporation, which is Safe Fleet. Additionally, years 2, 3, 4, and 5, this is a 5-year contract with servicing and with warranties to the last day of the contract. We're going to pay that year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 out of the joint accounts shared with technology. So that's about it. That's what we got to accomplish. We got to do it soon.
Chief, just to clarify, so the 210 is a one-time dollar amount that we pay now, but you mentioned something about multiple years. So how does that work?
The 210 pays for 1 year unlimited of storage for that equipment. We had this order represents 40 body cams, and that would be for 31 personnel and with spares. The second one represents 15 transition cameras into the cars. We already purchased 5 by using monies that we had remaining in our car replacement account. You might remember those meetings, and a share with technology. So year 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the cost for the unlimited storage going into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th year of the contract. We're looking to purchase 1 year up front right now.
But we will then incur years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Each year will be $61,000, and that money is paid from the joint account used with technology.
Thank you.
That-
Sorry,
that is currently-
I'm being
that is-
thick.
That's currently in CIP.
Okay, thanks.
Chief, let me ask you, when I was reading what you sent us, I just, thought, did WatchGuard and or Motorola who owns it now, weren't they required to let you know? It seems to be an issue here that we were caught off guard on this.
Well, the purchase of WatchGuard, the transition from WatchGuard to Motorola, and actually the people that we used in our servicing and the people that we dealt with are no longer with the company. Motorola came in and purchased it. We were giving no answers from our vendor. This carried on for almost a year. So we were looking at this prior to the termination of our contract. We're trying to get answers. Where are we going from here? So finally, I guess the discussion we had between Tim Rowe, myself, and Art Sickles said, we have to find a company, one, preferably based in the U.S. So there isn't a delay in getting materials. That currently is one of the problems with WatchGuard right now. A lot of the technology is made overseas. This company currently we look at, which is a national state bid, is based in Texas.
Was there ever a chance of us operating without understanding that this had happened?
I'm sorry, Noreen, it's very hard to hear you. I'm sorry.
Was there ever a chance during this that the department could have been operating with an assumption that everything was fine and none of the service had stopped?
Well, when we learned the facts, we went at it pretty hard.
I know you did, but that's when you learned the facts. It's nothing to do with the special appropriation. It was just that when I read what you sent us, it seemed very loosey-goosey, not on your part. And I'm surprised they didn't have, no matter who owned them, didn't have requirements to let a police department know what was the situation.
This isn't, I hate to say this isn't unusual in this business with public safety. I mean, every time every state puts mandates on, or particularly with a police accountability, transparency bill, there are a host of companies come in manufacturing devices or equipment or training or technology that will use to support it. So as they go out there and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 years with them, and all of a sudden they get purchased by some hedge fund or conglomerate, and they change the rules. Everything goes up 35, 40, 50%. We saw this with our tasers. We had brand new tasers, and they came to us a year after we bought them, telling us that they no longer were going to service them. I said, are you out of your minds? So a bunch of chiefs were smart enough to start writing letters and talking to people and push the issue. They continued to service them, and I'm proud to say into the 8th year now. So that happens.
I think that was my point exactly, but no, I understand. I was just surprised when I read that you have to, it's public safety. That's why I was surprised.
Well, nothing's more frustrating when you're calling your service company and they don't have answers for you.
Right.
And then month 1, month 2, month 3, 6 months, 8 months, and a year. But unfortunately, we have to comply with the law, and I have to have those cameras in place prior to July 1st for both sets, car and on body cam, but also because we are losing capacity very quickly, and it's only a matter of time before everything shuts down, that we won't be in compliance.
Okay, thanks, Jack.
This normally would have been planned for the next series for planning the funding of it down the road. And 5 years from now, we'll be planning the funding of it again.
Thank you.
Okay, obviously, the expenditure the town is going to have to be monitoring and understand that we have to, it's a commitment that we're making.
Peggy, it's super hard to hear you right now for some reason.
Oh, sorry. This is better?
Yeah, I think a little.
So I was just saying that obviously this is something that is going to be, continuing as part of the budgeting process going forward, and we'll just have to, monitor the technology. There's always going to be changes in technologies and changes in requirements, so we just have to stay on top of it. And I know that Jack does his best to do that. So, any other questions then for Jack or Art on this? Yeah. Oh, you're not supposed to ask a question about your own.
No, I just want to add something because I just wanted to add something. So I had someone question, asking, well, why don't you seek grants or some sort of funding external? Based on what the structure, what Madison is, the money that would be available is not much. And if we were to take $1 of the federal money for that program, then the way we have to, the requirement for us to store the video, which is tremendous, a large amount of capacity, now goes from 90 days to 2 years.
Wow. That's a
So,
huge amount of storage.
Unless you're going to give us $1 million plus, I won't consider it. My understanding is the offer was 15,000.
I can't help but think of the saying, I'm the government, I'm here to help. Right
No,
away.
it's, well, I mean, not, when you manage your accounts and you have reserves and the town operates AAA Fitch ratings, you get penalized down the road. Because most of the money that's been offered up is in the major cities in the millions.
So, with that, I guess, all in favor of approving a special appropriation request for the police department, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, Jack.
Thanks,
Thank
Jack.
you, everybody. Thank you, Art.
And I know it's been a lot of work on both Jack and Art's part to kind of figure this out, right, and get us to this point. So hopefully we've got a good system going forward. I have a question for Lauren before I read the next item on the agenda. Lauren, I noticed we're including the special appropriation on the town meeting, but the special appropriation would require people to vote at town meeting. And so we've got a hybrid platform for this. Is that, can we really do that? Is she on here?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking about this because I see it was added to the town meeting for our annual town meeting. And I'm just wondering, because technically wouldn't we have to allow people to vote then at the meeting? And so we set it up as a hybrid format.
So I think we should probably just add language that says the voting has to be in person.
Okay. So we would add that to item number 4.
Yep.
Just say, to approve a special appropriation from the town department in the amount of $200,000, all.
Voting must be in person.
Yeah, so I added a sentence after that. All votes cast must be in person in town campus for May.
Okay. All votes cast must be in person. All votes cast must be in person in town. Okay. All right. So with that, item number 13. Discuss and take action to approve calling the annual town meeting in town campus room A and on Zoom on Thursday, February 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. for the following purposes. Review the state of the town report, review 5-year capital plan, to receive the annual report of the permanent boards, commissions, agencies, committees, and the town's auditor report in accordance with Article 2, Section 2.1.4.1 of the town charter, and number 4, to approve a special appropriation request from the police department in the amount of $210,000. All votes cast must be in person, must be made in person at town campus room A. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
May I ask a question? I haven't been to one lately, and I apologize for that, but is town campus room A large enough?
We usually don't get very many people at
Okay.
all. So it's been fine.
All right. Especially on February 10th, it'll be cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually we don't get a lot of people at our town meetings, and so I think it'll be fine. And then even for the state of the town report, because it's hybrid option, a lot of people will opt from home. I'm guessing it'll be videotaped because that's just a presentation of the state of the town. So with that, all in favor of calling the annual town meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Passes. And I'll just comment that, this is probably a little late. Normally we have at the end of January, but just with all the referendum stuff going on this month, we just kind of wanted to, we gave it a little push out. But we have up to 45 days, to call the annual town meeting according to the charter. So we're still within our normal time frame. Item number 14.
Come on, Bruce.
Come on, you guys have to read to the end of the agenda as well. I'll move $2,211.69 in tax abatements and refunds.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and with that, moving on to citizens' comments.
No one has their hand raised.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I think that was a record for us.